about hire purchase. Now, guys, have you ever seen like an advert for a TV, for example, you know, those really expensive TVs, and then they say, this is the cash price, or you can pay, what is it a month? 1,000 Rand a month for 2 years, something like that, right? So instead of paying the whole cash price up front, you get the TV so long, you have it, but you haven't paid for it in full, and then you pay an amount every month. That is what hire purchase is. So basically when you are buying an item on credit. Another example is also clothing accounts. So if your parents have like a Cotton On or whatever account, and they get clothes, but they don't pay for it all at the beginning, they pay for it over time, that is hire purchase. All right, so I've prepared the note here. You can start copying that down. Hire purchase is always simple interest. That is something that you guys are going to have to remember, please. They are not going to tell you in the question that you must use simple interest. You have to remember that. So that is very important. I would like you to highlight that as well. Hire purchase is always simple interest. As soon as you see the words hire purchase, simple interest. All right, we're going to go straight into an example so that you can see how this type of question works. What often happens also is that you have to pay a deposit. So they will often give you some information about a deposit, and then the rest of the amount you have to pay off over a certain time period. Okay, so just copy that down, please. Okay, I'm just going to read through that whole question quickly. I know some of you are still busy writing. So it's saying you would like to buy a cell phone that costs 18,000 Rand, but you cannot afford the cash price. The shop offers you a hire purchase agreement. So guys, as soon as you see the words hire purchase agreement, you need to think simple interest. Okay, so let's highlight that hire purchase agreement there. That is very important. Hire purchase agreement. Then you need to think immediately simple interest. And if you read further on, they don't say at any point in this question 12% per annum simple interest, right? They just say 12%. So you need to know that it is always going to be simple interest. Okay, they're saying whereby you need to pay a 10% deposit up front. That's important. Sometimes they don't tell you what the percentage is. Sometimes they just tell you what the amount of the deposit is. Okay, so that can be something that's slightly different. The balance must be paid back in equal monthly installments over 2 years at an interest rate of 12% per annum. Okay, so now that balance, guys, the balance is going to be, it's almost like you're taking out a loan for that amount. So you are paying the 10% deposit up front, and the rest of the money, you're getting the phone, but you haven't paid it yet. Okay, the rest of the money, that balance, we call that a loan amount. Okay, we're taking it out as a loan. So maybe you want to just make a note from balance there. If you have space, that balance is essentially a loan that you are taking out at 12% per annum, simple interest. Okay, that is how we're going to approach that. Are you going to pay interest on the money that you've already paid, on the deposit? No, right? The shop already got that amount. So when you are calculating your interest and your final amount that you must pay back, you are not going to include that deposit. Okay, so the first question there, you can see that I've already done it. They are asking us to calculate the value of the deposit. So that is 10% of the 18,000 Rand. So here again, you can write 10 over 100 if you prefer, times 18,000, and then you can get your answer there of 1,800 Rand. So this deposit was the 10% of 18,000 Rand. They told us that in the question, that is the amount of the deposit. Okay, the second question is they are now asking for the loan amount. So now the loan amount is that balance that I was talking about earlier, right? The loan amount is the cash price minus the deposit. Okay, so I'm going to write that as a little formula there. So loan amount is always cash price minus deposit. So you can call it P if you want to, because that is a loan, right? That is the P value when we are using our formula, our simple interest formula. P is going to be that amount. Or you can also just write loan amount if you want to. The words, that's also fine. So we are going to say cash price, which was 18,000 minus deposit, which was 1,800. Right? We all fine with that. So that is 16,200. Guys, they're not asking for the amount that must be paid back in full. They're not asking for the final amount, right? They're asking just for the loan amount. So when they're asking for the loan amount, you just have to calculate cash price minus deposit. Okay, now please write down number 3. This is now where things are going to get a little bit more complicated. They now want us to calculate the value of the monthly installments. Yes.
Didn't he specify how many months it was?
They said 2 years.
Didn't it say over 2 years?
When they say over 2 years, they mean over a time period of 2 years. Yeah. Yes.
And then if we ask about life insurance, do you take it from the big amount or do you take it from
They will specify in the question. So sometimes they say it's 12% of the cash price or 12% of the balance. Yeah, they'll tell you in the question. Okay. Right, guys, number 3, the value of the monthly installments. Now here, are we going to pay back 16,200 Rand only over 2 years? They're going to charge us interest on that amount as well, right? So the monthly installments, these actually have to include the interest as well, which we haven't calculated yet. So the monthly installments include interest. Now, how can we calculate how much we have to pay back, including interest, over 2 years? What method do we have to find that amount? The final amount, which is the 16,200 and the interest all together. What can I use to calculate that? Yes, the simple interest formula. All right? So step 1 is going to be to calculate A using the simple interest formula. Because at this point we don't actually know how much we have to pay back in total. We know that currently at the beginning of the 2 years, we owe them 16,200 Rand. But what is the interest that they're going to charge us on that? We haven't calculated that yet. Yeah.
Now, when it says the value of the monthly installments, does it mean as a total or just each one?
Each one. Okay, so that's going to be our first step. So I'm going to write down that formula. A is equal to P, bracket 1 plus I, times N. Like I said before, you don't have to write the formula down. I'm just writing it out in full. Now P is that loan amount, right? The amount that we calculated. It's not the cash price of the cell phone because we've already paid 1,800 Rand of it. It's this 16,200 Rand, the amount that we actually are owing them still. In brackets, 1 plus, what was the interest rate that they told us about here? It was 12%, so we're going to write 0,12 times the number of years is 2 years. All right, I am getting 20,088 Rand. So that is what we still actually have to pay off on the loan, and we've already paid 1,800 Rand. Okay, so we actually in the end are paying much more for the cell phone than we would have if we had 18,000 Rand cash, which unfortunately most people don't have. All right, so now that is what we need to pay back over 2 years. So all our monthly installments have to cover this amount. So how am I now going to calculate what each installment should be equal to? Divide by 24, right? So that's going to be step 2. Divide A by the number of months, which in this case is 24 because it's 2 years. Obviously, in the question, they can give you a different number of years, and then you need to work with that. So now I'm just going to write here installment. There isn't a letter to represent this, unfortunately. So you have to write either installment or monthly installment. And that is going to be equal to 20,088 Rand divided by 24. You can use the division symbol as well. You don't have to write it as a fraction. And I am getting 837 Rand. Okay. I want to add a question to this, number 4. So calculate how much you will pay for the cell phone in total. Now guys, all of our installments, right, this 837, when we pay all of them, the total for that is 20,088 Rand, right? So I'm going to write here as a formula, I'm going to write, let's say, total payment is going to be A. So that was all your monthly installments, all added together. That was A, right? The 20,088. Plus, remember we paid a deposit as well. And that is also a part of what we've paid for the cell phone, right? So it was 20,088 Rand plus 1,800. All right. So what is that? 21,888 Rand. Now guys, why did we pay more than 18,000? What is that difference? What would we call that difference? Interest. Okay, good. So they can also ask you, I'm not going to write it down now, but they can also ask you how much interest did you pay? And it would be this minus 18,000, right? 3,888 Rand. Okay. Right, that is it. That's basically what you need to know for hire purchase. Like Gio was asking, sometimes there is insurance as well. But yeah, you'll just have to look at the question for that. There is another worksheet. I'm just going to give you guys one question from the hire purchase worksheet, and then we can work on the rest tomorrow because some of you still have that previous worksheet to finish up.